Hey everybody, we are Panfurware LLC, and this is Let That Sink In with Michael Mayo. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Eric. How about you? I love that music.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an intro we've been putting in the beginning of our shows,
Awesome.
especially since the new round, since we've done the newest rounds of this. But I'm going to go ahead and my name is Eric Zickler. I am a sync licensing agent for Panfurware LLC. I've been a long-term musician, um, and I'm also a graduate from Full Sail University with a degree in music business. And I am going to be the host for tonight. And the co-host, Judan, if you can give a quick intro to yourself.
Thank you. My name's Judan Armenti. I work with Panfurware LLC as both a business consultant and sync agent, but I also have my own company, JA Creatives Consulting, where I help creators understand business and financial fundamentals so that they are empowered to negotiate through the wild waters of the music industry. I'm just going to take one moment and pop everybody down back into the audience while we have our conversation with Michael. And then when we get more into the conversational aspects of things, we will definitely bring you guys all back up. So I just wanted to jump in also with a little note, program note, so to speak. Anthony Ferrier, the founder of Panfurware LLC, he won't be able to be with us tonight due to family matters, but he wants to thank everybody for joining us, supporting us, and he looks forward to seeing you guys all next week.
Yeah, thank you for that, Judan. All right. So, Michael, give a quick introduction.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Mayo, like the condiment. Yes, mayonnaise. Uh, I've been doing music for about now 7 years, and it's really been a journey, to say the least. But I'm pretty much your typical indie artist. I love to do it, and it started as I can't even speak. A habit and just a hobby. That's the word I was looking for. A hobby, and then it eventually became something that I wanted to pursue. So I've been working hard ever since, and I am here today, and I'm thankful for pretty much everyone who I met on the journey, especially uh, Panfurware LLC. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And so again, where are you located?
So I'm actually from New Britain, Connecticut. It's a little state that not a lot of people know, which is hilarious. I tell people from America that I'm from Connecticut, and they're like, "What? Like where?" And I'm like, "Next to New York." And they're like, "Oh, that state." So that's where I'm from.
Yeah, that well, I would think I would hope people would know where Connecticut is. It's been a state for a long time.
It's the home of the WWE, man.
I know,
Is
right?
it really?
Yes, it is.
That I did not know. See, we learn more than just music on this on this show. But yeah, so I think you mentioned you've been in music for a while. How many years been have you been in music, and how long have you been involved like in a professional manner in music?
So I've been in music for about now, I would say since 2012. My first instrument was guitar, and I started producing at the age of 13. It was terrible music, and actually today it was funny because I was going through like some old stuff, and I was listening to how my music used to sound, especially since it was the dubstep era. Uh, you know, it was crazy.
Oh yeah.
It was all kinds of sounds everywhere, every single minute, and it was like, wow, yeah, this is where I came from. um, but I started professionally in 2017, and my first ever introduction to licensing was what actually kicked off like the professional side of it, which was Cirque Du Soleil, actually. And I had licensed one of my songs for their show Volta to be performed. So.
Wow. Yeah, and tell us more about that. Tell us more about what that was like. Like, how did that happen? What was the end result? Tell us the Cirque du Soleil story.
Yeah, of course. So I was just one day on my computer, I had just set up my website. I had been doing like smaller kind of remixing stuff, letting people remix my stuff, posting it on my website and so forth. And then one day I get this message from someone. I still remember the message to this day. I was it was just a simple, "Hi, we would like to contact you regarding one of your songs." And this was a song. It was called Big City. It was the original version of the song. And that song, obviously, for me, it didn't mean anything for me. But they had contacted me and said, "Hey, we're interested in using this song." And at first, because the message was just so vague, I was like, "What kind of spam is this?" Thinking that someone was just you know trying to scam and so forth. Uh, and they were like, "Hey, we're working on this project. We would like to use your song. Would you be willing to work with us on it?" And so I talked with them. Um, they asked me for a few things. They asked me if I could change some stuff around to fit their production. Hadn't heard back for months. Like, I think it was like 6 months. Um, and I was like, okay, well, I guess this was a scam or something, and like they just stole my song. Mind you, I didn't even hear about sync licensing until this, and then they had reached out to me, said, "Hey, I don't think we're going to be going forward with this song." And so I haven't heard from them up till that point, and they just like, "Oh, we're not going forward with the song." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess maybe they were real or something like that." And then 2 months later, they messaged me saying, "Well, actually, we want to use the song. Can we still use it?" And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah." And so I ended up working with them on the song, finishing it for their project because they wanted to change it a little bit for their singers. And I got to go see the show, got a nice paycheck at the time. And since then, it was just a nice connection, and really enjoyed being around them.
That's awesome. That's I mean, that's the way it usually seems to go. It usually like I think a lot of people think it's a very quick process for sync, but no. It is a long run. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And yeah, the fact that you didn't hear back from months at a time, like that's not unheard of. Like that's actually pretty pretty common. Um but that was your kind of introduction to sync?
Yeah, and in fact, like I didn't realize that you could sync your music because at this point I wasn't even think I was always chasing after streams and after like, you know, the clout as, my generation calls it. And that's what as a musician we're always taught to chase after the views, the popularity, because then comes in the other uh, the other things that can help you push your career forward. But then I learned that there's a whole different side to a music career, and that was licensing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's actually an aspect of the music business that not a lot of people know about. Not a, I think a lot of people, I think everybody knows about what it is, but they don't know it by that term. Everybody knows that there's music and movies and TV and all this stuff, but not everybody knows, that it is sync licensing and that there's an entire, um, part of the industry devoted to that.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think we actually saw like an uptick in the amount of people that were going into sync, with the pandemic, because you take away a lot of the revenue with performances. Nobody could go to concerts. Like, concerts were the thing 2021 or 2020 or 2021, so like they had to make other money somehow. So there was a huge uptick in artists getting into sync,
Mm-hmm.
especially during the pandemic, because I think they still want to make music and they still need to make money, and so you your resourcefulness kicks in.
That's the truth.
But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit also about your music. Who how would you classify your music, under what genre?
So this one is an interesting one because I know there's been a lot of genre blendings lately, especially, and I feel like I'm no exception to that because I really love the idea of genre blending because I feel like a lot of songs and a lot of influences in what's popular and what's considered, funk or hip hop or R&B or even classical has, influenced a lot of what I do because I really, sometimes just love to listen to classical music. Sometimes I love to listen to pop or R&B or hip hop or um, so forth and so on. And I would say I classify my music for the most part as pop music because I am just in that headspace at this time. I draw a lot of my personal influences from like the style of The Weeknd, the Bruno Mars, and that kind of headspace right now. Especially like I love what Dua Lipa is doing too. I really like combining the old school with the new school synths and the mastering and so forth. Um, and I love me some Whitney Houston. I can sing that in the car all day long.
Oh yeah.
And Michael Jackson as well, all of those old school influences. And that's becoming pop right now. So I would say my music generally classifies as pop, but I am always open to the occasional EDM songs um, and the R&B songs and just love to genre blend for me.
Yeah, no, and I think that's really important. I think like it's very, very, very important, especially for an artist, to just kind of set your Spotify to shuffle, so to speak, and just like don't be afraid of any genre. Like, just literally just open your mind to like anything and everything as far as music genres, because I think that it all has something to offer, and that's how you actually push the envelope. That's how you actually,
Yeah.
evolve, is that you are taking influences from whatever you can. You aren't going to push the envelope of a genre by continuing to listen to everything that's already been done in that genre.
Yes.
You know,
Preach it.
well, I mean, I'm that's something that I didn't even learn. I didn't even learn that until like because I was in a band for a while and I did some touring,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and it was like a hard rock metal band, but it wasn't until I was actually in like towards the end of that I started like really branching out and trying to pull in influences from hip hop and pull in influences from or even jazz to it, because I I don't know, the band unfortunately broke up so I wasn't really able to get those
Mhm.
influences into the actual creating of the music, but I was at that point onwards, and I was like, okay, you can't just listen to one genre your entire life. You have to open it up. You have to be open minded for everything and anything.
Yep, yep. That's how new genres and new ideas are made. Like you said, it's really taking those influences and making it your own and bringing it to your own life story, your own experiences, and creating something new and beautiful with it. That's what I think, at least.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Um, so if you weren't, but if you weren't doing music, for instance, what would you see yourself doing? This is a question that I do like to ask a lot of people, because I think a lot of people start, like, music is everything to them. That is their life and everything around it. And I'm always curious to know, like, what musicians could see themselves doing if, somebody snapped their fingers and music didn't exist.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I personally feel like for me, if I wasn't in music, I'd still be some in the creative space. I personally like website design because I like creating almost that visual aspect of it, especially like front end developing. That's like another passion of mine. I still do it to this day, and I love doing it. Um, and I just love like creating something that I feel like that's almost my art. Like I can't paint, I can't draw to save my life. If they were like, draw this banana, I'm surely gonna die that day. And I think specifically for me, that's something that I would be doing if music wasn't even on the table. That or filmmaking too, because I also like filmmaking. So I'm gonna just throw that in there, little
Nice.
tidbit in there.
Nice. And I mean, that's actually, for somebody, for sync especially, that seems like a natural fit, that you would also be into filmmaking, and know about filmmaking and know about that entire world. um, have you to go off of the music thing for just a bit, have you tried, um have you done filmmaking before? Have you done any short movies or anything like that?
So I've never done short movies. I am currently working on a set. I can't really say. But yeah, I'm working on a set and I absolutely love it. It's actually my first time working on a set. Um and really being inside of like the actual production of it. Not being part of like the film crew itself, but like um, the cast and stuff. It's very interesting from the different perspective. So I'm learning a lot from it. I'm learning a lot of the choices that are being made by the director and how it influences um, what music will ultimately be put in at the end. It's very interesting seeing the different perspective of it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's awesome. Do you think that, um, it's had any influence? Like, has your, um, the film side had any spillover to the music side? Has it had any influence on writing? Do you think?
Yes, especially because now more than ever, especially since it's so recent and I'm actually working on my EP now, I have a lot of perspective of, well, what is the emotion I'm trying to capture? What is the emotion that a character is going through? What music will sound good for that character, you know, during that scene that will have an emotional impact on the viewer. And that's really what especially directors and music supervisors are looking at now. And that definitely, especially for my stuff now that I'm writing, it really, really has a impact on the way I write it and the meanings I'm trying to convey and the feelings that I write the song with or play or even sing on. So
Wow. And that makes a lot of sense. Like, that's, because I think there's this kind of argument about, should artists write for sync, or should artists not really worry about sync and just write what they want, and if it's syncable, it'll make its way into it. And I think what you're talking about is kind of it's kind of interesting because it's kind of almost that middle ground. Like you're still being,
Mm-hmm.
you know, creative and original, but you're just taking into account um, the 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 film side. You know, things that filmmakers think about when they're writing a film, when they're making a film. So I think
Exactly.
it's almost like a middle ground. I kind of wanted to get your opinion, your 2 cents on that kind of argument that people are going into.
Yeah, like I know for me personally, I'm not gonna write a whole rage song about like, I hate these people, I hate the establishment, burn it down. Like I can't write something like that because me personally, I don't have that mentality or that headspace to write it. Um, but for someone who has that mentality, I think, yeah, if you can write it, I'm sure somewhere it's syncable because we just had that show on Netflix that was like um Deaf to 2021, and that is hilarious, by the way. I recommend
Yeah.
watching that. But like, they had scenes in there that I could see that, going with uh whatever the establishment or whatever, or some crazy song or something like that. Like if you're in that headspace, I say you should go for it, honestly. But for me personally, that's not where my headspace is. So I'm not gonna write specifically for that sync or, write for something like that.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah, that's, that's that's good, that work, that works. And that may not be, some people that they might be the most comfortable writing for sync, but some people aren't,
Hmm.
and they should just do what, whatever is the most comfortable for them, because that's where they're going to excel.
Exactly.
um all right, so when in regards to writing, uh how do you balance your songwriting with like other hobbies, and also taking time for yourself and like, self-care?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. So, um, especially recently, I like my songwriting has been a reflection of my experiences, what I've gone through, feelings I felt, um, especially relying on my friends for certain situations. I can say for me personally during the pandemic, like it's been really hard on my mental health. So I had to like really take a step back and analyze myself as a person and see who I am, what character I want to be, uh, what are my goals, um, and just really be true to myself personally. I feel like um, that really helped, almost like a therapy. um, and it just really honestly helped with my mental health. That's because I love to do it. And, I don't really view it as a job. But at the same time, obviously, like you said, balancing, you know, writing and like mental health, it is sometimes stressful writing music. So, what really helped me, honestly, is like, having a schedule, having a time where I devote to like just, quiet thoughts. I can write them down if I want to, and then I'll address them later. Or going out and exercising, that really helps out a lot. And just really, enjoying my life because, yeah, music is a big part of my life, but it shouldn't consume my life. I still have to experience things, and whatever I experience, much like a writer can write about it in a novel, I can write about it in my songs. I can, share it, my thoughts, and so forth through my music.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I think that when it comes to the writing process, when it comes to inspiration, when it comes to creativity, especially if you get stuck, if you hit a rut, um, one of the best things you can do is not that. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to not try and force yourself to write. Like go do something, like go for a walk. Go see a movie. go do anything else and don't even think about it. Don't even think about the song that you're trying to write, because that will allow your brain to naturally come up with what is next. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
revisit it with kind of a renewed level of creativity. And that's, yeah, I because I know a lot of people who go into songwriting, and when they get stuck, they just continue to try and come up with the next with the chorus or whatever it is, and they can't. And then they'll say, "I will forget it," and then they go and hang out with their friends, and then they come back, and then somewhere along the way, um they just they get a cool beat in their head. They're like, "Oh, I don't know where that came from," and then they remember it and they go back home and they're like, "That's the creative process is weird, but you got to kind of embrace it." Sorry, it looks like we lost you there for just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're still here. All right. Yeah.
But yeah, totally agree with you 100%. I used to be that person who used to always try to write 100% of the song right then and there. Especially the thing that kills me is when you love a song and you just want it to be done.
Yeah.
I just like, I am not leaving this desk until this song is done. And it's like, no, go. I got to get out of here. I got to do something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so what is a good piece of advice that another musician has given to you? This is another question that I do ask to many of our guests, because I always get a different answer, and it's always fun. But yeah, what's the best piece of advice that another musician has given you?
I would say the best piece of advice, and like this is honestly advice that was given to me by my music teacher, but I've heard before, but it never really like, stuck with me till like recently, when it was repeated to me. Um, it was, and I hope I don't botch this. It says, you know, don't ever be flat. You can always sometimes be sharp, but in everything you do, be natural. And basically, what it means is be yourself, because there's all different types of musicians out there. There's always that star that we like. I want to be just like, I don't know, Billie Eilish, or I want to be like Michael Jackson, or I want to be like um, uh, Lionel Richie, or Elvis, or Bruno Mars. You can go on and on with the names, but like just be yourself, because you could be the best you of whatever you do. So that like really made me just realize that, like, yeah, like you can do music, you can do all different types of styles of music. Some of them might be more syncable than others might not be as syncable. But there's room in the music industry for pretty much all different talents. So, and that's why we have variety of music. If everyone did the same thing, there would only be one genre, one artist. And we have different artists for that reason. So be yourself. Yes, be smart about it, and be sharp, pun intended, about how you do it. But be yourself. That's the biggest thing, because you will shine. You will be the best you, as opposed to someone else.
I love that. That's that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's true, 100%. Um, yeah, no, the only issue I have with that is the B sharp part of it, and that's just the music nerd in me being like, I don't like that. but no, that is so true, because like I think there's a lot of people who go out and they try to be it's one thing to have influences. It's good to have influences. It's good to have Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie
Mm-hmm.
as your influences, and to take little tidbits from them. But don't ever be a, like a Michael Jackson. Don't ever try to be Michael Jackson. You're not going to be Michael Jackson. You never will.
Mhm.
Nobody will, except for Michael Jackson. Like, you can't. You will. Yeah, you will never be the best. Um, Lionel Richie. You will never be, because the best Lionel Richie already exists. Like,
Mhm.
that's Lionel Richie. But you can always be the best Michael Mayo.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I really like that. Thank you for sharing that. That made my day, and I actually wrote that down. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure to that's great.
That's
Um
epic.
yeah. So I think I have one more question for you, and then we're actually gonna go into a segment to where we're gonna review one of your songs, and we're gonna see, where we can see it placed. But to kind of preface that section, um I want to ask, what is something about sync that you wish you knew when you first started? What is something about sync that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?
Gosh. I think we're gonna need more than an hour for that one.
Well,
um,
hey.
yeah, I would say I'm still learning too, because sync is relatively new to me. I'm really working on, like I said, being myself, finding my sound. But one thing I can say for a fact that I wish I knew about sync is that, um, kind of along what I said, like, being who you are and being true to yourself, because sync is one of those things where, like, everyone has that specific sound. And like, when you create a really good brand for yourself, um, especially in sync licensing, people will be able to identify who you are and so forth. And I think about like the people who are most sought after for to either write songs for movies or um, you know really excel in sync are people who have that unique personality. And like, you listen to their songs and you can instantly tell, like, oh man, this is them. Or even people who do composing for songs, they get those jobs because they have that distinct personality and it works for them. But also, like, you know having staying true to themselves, essentially. So there was a point in time, especially like until I would say about this year, last year, where I was just trying to be like that sync artist or trying to be like this person, like I said. Um, and obviously, I failed so terribly at that. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just start being me. And, I started just making music for myself again, like I started, and um, it really helped me to appreciate that, yes, it's important to not go crazy, but at the same time, still be true to yourself. And, um, you know, you'll find your spot eventually, and having the consistency, you'll find your spot in sync eventually.